Tuesday's 0-0 draw with Eintracht Frankfurt is the beginning of the end for Antonio Conte at Spurs. His inflexibility will lead to Spurs not making it out of the group. Jules, is this an overreaction?
Yeah, it's an overreaction. Yeah, it is an overreaction. Yeah, okay, they defend well. He's a defending-minded coach. But he's got great talent going forward. There's no, they can play better. They will play better. I think Heung-min Son is still finding his feet in a team that maybe with Perisic plays differently than without Perisic before. And there's Richarlison that they've added to the mix, which is, I think, changes the dynamic than he plays compared to when Kulusevski plays. So all of that is kind of new, but yeah.
But also, like, what kind of nonsense is this? Like, sorry, am I right in thinking, right? There's 2 teams advance. Like, the Champions League rules haven't changed, right?
No.
2 teams advance from Tottenham's group, right?
Yeah.
They drew 0-0 away, right?
Yeah. It's not a bad result in itself. No,
they have Marseille in the group, who lost their first 2 games. Am I correct? Yes?
Yeah.
And, of course, Sporting, we expect Sporting to win the group, although, obviously, they had a stinker in Marseille. I mean...
It's a very open group still. And Spurs
it's
still
open. They have 2 home games out of 3 remaining. Come on, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Barcelona heading to the Europa League as they won't be Inter Milan at the Camp Nou next week because they will have their eyes on El Clasico the following weekend. Is that an overreaction, Gab?
It's an overreaction, but a slight one. And what I mean by that, I think they should beat Inter. I don't think, they weren't great against Inter, but even not great Barcelona still had the 2 goofy refereeing decisions go against them. They would have won that game. I think, though, if they don't beat Inter, then it's really ugly. I think even if they do beat Inter, it could be problematic because the final game is Inter against Bayern. And then they need to beat Bayern at home as well to kind of really be sure, which I think is going to be much tougher. Juventus, on the other hand, will still make it out of the group because they will win all of their remaining group games. That includes Paris Saint-Germain,
too. Who wrote this? You should behave, whoever wrote it. I mean, they will have to play better. Yeah, of course, they can win the 3 remaining games. They can win at Haifa against Maccabi next week. And then, obviously, the big one will be Benfica away.
No, but they're going to win that, too.
And then PSG at home on match day 6 when PSG might already be through.
Oh, we might see Ekitika. That might be an Ekitika game.
Maybe Ekitika game. Yeah, maybe. And some of the kids. Juve will have to play better to start with to win all 3 remaining games. They will need Benfica and PSG. I mean, Maccabi is different, but certainly Benfica at Stade de la Luz not to be at their best, not to have their pressing game on, not to have the individual quality that they've had so far. And then for PSG on the last game, at the J Stadium, then they will need them to be already qualified and send a few for resting weekend in midweek. So I don't know. I think it's a big task winning those 3. They can, of course, they can, but I don't think they will. Napoli will win the Champions League as long as they avoid Manchester City, Gab, until the final. Overreaction?
Well, if they're going to win the Champions League, then presumably they're going to beat Manchester City to do it in the final. So then, does it really matter when they play Manchester City if they're good enough to beat Manchester City? Look, they've been fantastic. And maybe Osimhen comes back. I think one of the huge things here, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, is going to be what are these teams and these players going to look like after the World Cup? Yeah. I think that's going to be absolutely huge. Of course,
although
Erling Haaland's not going to the World Cup.
Osimhen neither, Maradona neither,
Raspadori
neither.
Now that you put it like that, Di Lorenzo, Alex Meret, they're not going to the World Cup. I believe Rahmani isn't either. But anyway, no, obviously they've been phenomenal. Yeah. They are perfect. Bruges with Mr. Champions League, Hans van Aken, also perfect. Why don't you ask me about that?
Jutgla and all the team.
Let's wait and see how things pans out. And finally, Erling Haaland is up to joint 33 in all-time Champions League goals list, moving past Luis Suarez. Barring injury, there is no doubt that by the end of his career, he'll end up as the all-time top goal scorer. Overreaction?
No, yes and no, in the sense that no one can predict the future. I mean, he has more goals now than Messi, Ronaldo had at the same age, but no one can say that he's going to score as many as them between 25 and 35, for example.
You're thinking of Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney and what happened to them in their late 20s?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Possibly? I'm just saying, like, it's impossible. Yeah, of course, if he continues like this, but we don't know if he will continue like this. Is there a point where, he's going to move clubs, and the new clubs might not be creating as many chances for him. I don't know, what. I really hope he's not going to get injured or any injuries. But there had been times in games in knockout stages of the competition where he hasn't been as efficient as in the group stages, which is true. So I don't know. I think that if he continues like this, he could become the greatest goal scorer that we've ever seen in terms of numbers, for sure.
But you're assuming Cristiano Ronaldo is going to retire one day and not just take a season off from the Champions League. So we don't know.
True,
that.
but Erling Haaland is not going to score a goal every 50 minutes through his whole career, right? Is that possible? I mean, if that is possible, he would be the greatest of all time.
There's so many things to unwrap. Here's a conversation another time, but I always talk about the imbalance. And when people compare strikers from the present with strikers from the past, Erling Haaland, Cristiano Ronaldo, Erling Haaland now that he's at City, Cristiano Ronaldo throughout most of his career, Lionel Messi, these guys played for teams that were so much better than the opposition because the imbalance in resources made it so that they are so much better. They got better guys passing the ball. It's so much easier for them to score from that perspective.
Very true.
And we always need to bear that in mind.
Did you see Antonio Cassano saying that Erling Haaland was an amazing finisher, but he was not really a great footballer in the technical sense of the words? To which the guy who was doing the show with Cassano was like, what kind of drugs have you taken? I thought it was an interesting point from Cassano, in the sense that Erling is not as complete, maybe technically, than Kylian Mbappe, for example. But in terms of finishing and clinicality, he's above anything that we can see right now. I think that's what Cassano was trying to say.
Cassano comes out with these things. I don't quite know where to place them or where to put them. Just because you were a footballing genius and a colorful character, do I need to keep listening to you ad infinitum? If the bar is Kylian Mbappe a better footballer technically? Probably. In terms of technical ability.
Yeah.
But to say that Erling Haaland has technical flaws, it's also what he's asked to do, right? If Erling Haaland played number 10 in a different thing, if you spent a year playing number 10, what would Erling Haaland look like as a footballer? And we don't know that answer. He's trained to do this job. He doesn't do a different job.
There's a reason why he does this job and not the number 10 job too.
No. Oh, but by the way, since we're shooting a spit here, they had a poll on Sky Italia last night. I'm curious about this. It said they had 3 strikers, right? And they said, which of these 3 in their prime does Erling Haaland remind you of? Okay, the 3 options were Ruud van Nistelrooy, Christian Vieri, and Batistuta.
For me, it would be Vieri.
Yeah, Vieri won the poll.
Okay.
Capello insisted that it was Batistuta, but no, it is Christian Vieri.
Yeah, I think so.
With the difference, and we're not saying that Christian Vieri was as good as Erling Haaland or any of these guys. We're just talking what does he remind you of? But to me, that's a stretch because he's so unlike so much of what we've seen before.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.